pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, general law, chapter 30A, subsection 18, and the governor's June 16th, 2021 revised order extending remote participation by all members in any meeting of the public body. This meeting, the Housatonic Improvement Committee, will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information in the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and or parties with a right and or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town's website. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to listen to the meeting may do so in the following manners, which are also listed at the top of the agenda. No person in attendance of the meeting of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. So I will entertain a motion to open the meeting. Stand.
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Patrick. All those in favor? Eric.
Aye.
Angela.
Aye.
Patrick.
Aye.
Louise.
Aye.
Daniel.
Aye.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us tonight, Daniel. All right. So now the next fun part. Pursuant to Mass General Law.
What's your vote, Dan?
Oh, aye. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Got ahead of myself because I love reading these things. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 20F, after notifying the chair of the public body, any person may make a video or audio recording of an open session of the meeting of the public body and may transmit the meeting through any medium. At the beginning of the meeting, the chair shall inform other attendees of such recordings. All members of the public wishing to speak at the meeting must receive permission of the chair. The listings of the agenda items are those reasonably anticipated by the chair, which may be discussed at the meeting. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. We are being recorded through Zoom. I also believe Terry Cowgill is probably doing some sort of recording as well too. He may just be capturing it on Zoom. Okay. So first item on our agenda is our approval of the minutes. Angela has sent it out. Anybody have any corrections, deletions, or anything they want to enter into the record? If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept them.
I'll make a motion to accept the November 18th, 2021 minutes as written.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Daniel. All those in favor? Eric.
Aye.
Angela.
Aye.
Patrick.
Aye.
Louise.
Aye.
Daniel.
Aye.
And I as well. Unanimous on the minutes. That leads us to our probably our biggest agenda item, the recommendations for the select board. Our meeting is scheduled for the 13th of December, which is a week and a half from now. So I know last time we kind of left it with kind of coming up with an agenda for it. And there we go. Okay. Patrick, were you able to get some stuff together?
Yeah, a little bit. I have a framework for the document and took what we discussed last time and put it in a table of contents. So we'll now need to populate the different pages with text, and then I'll include the drawings that Angela sent the scans of, or the scans of, and if anybody has any photographs of the school or the area that might be useful, just to put it in, put in there for everybody's, I think, familiar with the site, but just to add some context to the report, I think would be good.
Okay. Do you want to share what you have so we can take a look at it, or?
Yeah, I can share. Let me get back up to the built on a previous document that I had. So there's some extra stuff in here, but I'll share what I've got. Okay, so just kind of not necessarily using this. You can all see my screen. Not necessarily using this image, even in that position, but just something here and the title page, and then the table of contents. That kind of I misspelled your name, Dan. Sorry. Typo. But these are the sort of sections that we talked about last time. I think starting off with an executive summary, going into sort of a recounting of the work we did. And I think in that section, we'd cite a lot of the documentation that we used as well. And I think that all that stuff is available, so I don't know that we necessarily need to include it, but just that we mentioned it. And then talk about the design charrette, the goals, and what kind of came out of it. I think the financial section is going to be pretty small, but I think we can take the notes that we have from the charrette, sort of that summary of how this might be, what it might look like financially, can go in there. And then the conceptual drawings that the architects created at the charrette would come next. And then our kind of recommendations for the path forward. And then we talked possibly about including some sort of a conceptual schedule of what this might look like. We don't want to put a schedule in there that's unachievable. So I think that's still a point for discussion. But those are the sections that I recall us, and looking at the meeting minutes, what we talked about. If I missed anything, let me know, or if we want to talk about any one of these items and add or take away, that's fine too. And then just kind of an idea of what a general page of this would look like. This is all just dummy text, obviously, but we might have some imagery over here, diagrams on some of the pages that might be appropriate. I feel like, maybe a Google Maps view in here somewhere to just give us some, additional context for anyone who might not be familiar with it. And that's what I've got.
So I want to talk about the financial piece for a second, if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
So at our last meeting, I volunteered to contact the Board of Realtors, and I did that, and I haven't heard back from them, but I got this amazing table from Chris Remble that talks about the average median income and what that looks like for rentals for 1 person, 2 persons, 3 persons. So I think we should pop that chart in there because it demonstrates what kind of rentals can be charged for the units. And then I did a really brief, very rough financial analysis of what if it's a $4 million renovation, what if it's a 5, 6, 7, and what the payment per month would be. And I think that might be of interest as well, just to show that, in a given month, if it's a $5 million renovation, there needs to be X number of dollars in rents collected. I also reached out to a commercial real estate broker who I was referred to by the Board of Realtors to try to get information about commercial rates. And he's supposed to get those to me by this coming Monday.
So with that, the commercial rates, my friend that has a real estate firm said, and the last she had known, commercial space in Great Barrington was renting for roughly $3 to $5 a foot, depending on where you're located. So, like I said, that's the information she gathered. Commercial space and renting it is not her true profession, but that's she said she did a little digging around, and that's what she figured the average was in Great Barrington, depending on location. I assume the downtown main, Railroad Street, that sort of area is probably at the $5 end, and then $3 elsewhere. But just a ballpark number, I guess, that I gathered.
Eric, do you know if that included any utilities or taxes or anything like that, or was that just the square footage?
That's just the square footage. Yeah.
Angela, thank you for kind of gathering that stuff. I think it's, even as if it is a brief section and those are rough numbers that we have out there, I think just putting something in there does make a very a good point to the select board based on the design charrette, what they've been proposing, and based on the current kind of the real estate market that's out there. It would also be interesting to see if we had time to pull that together, the difference between how fast the commercial space is moving compared to a residential space too. But again, I don't think I don't want to get too far into the weeds with any of these kind of topics. I think my impression is that once we make this presentation, the select board will probably still have a lot of follow-up questions that we won't have answers to again right away. I think that will probably be our next thing. And some of this will also be flushed out in the RFP as well too, in some way or another. But I think it is important that we at least put some sort of stuff in there. So I think whatever you have, Angela, I think that would be great. And I know Chris was away for the week leading up to Thanksgiving, and I'm sure he probably got a backlog, which is probably why he hasn't gotten back to me. Patrick and Angela, if you do remember, I did include you guys on that email, and I haven't heard directly back from Chris, and I haven't back out to him either, but I think we still could be able to sit down before then. Go ahead.
Yeah, Dan, he did respond. I think it was yesterday, so check your email.
Okay.
When he responded, I just sort of threw out to him, was there any chance he could come to this meeting tonight? But he didn't respond because, I think it's really important that we ask him questions. And I hope that we can do that. And if he can't meet with us, maybe we could talk about some of the questions we'd like to ask him tonight. Right. And, then at least we could send them to him via email.
Sorry, I was just trying to see if I could quickly check my email and see it right away. Yeah, I'll reach out to him again anyway, just to see if we can't get a meeting with him early next week or something.
I had emails from Chris go to my spam folder, and Angela, I didn't get a reply from him either, so maybe that's what happened.
Oh, yeah, I'll look in spam too. Or unless he didn't hit reply all, and he may have just replied to Angela too.
There was a temporary problem with the town's email, and some of the stuff was ending up in spam.
Oh.
So you might want to if you haven't heard, reach out with a phone call if you can't find it.
Sure, definitely. Okay, thank you, Ed. Thank you for that clarification. All right, so how do we want to move forward from here? Where do we want to go?
Well, maybe we want to just briefly talk about what is going to be, essentially what's going to be in each of these sections. And I don't mean specifics. I just mean, for example, I think last time Angela said she would take a stab at the executive summary. Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm happy to put together a conceptual schedule that'll be quick, and we may veto that, as I said. And then, I can maybe outline out the recommendations and path forward section. Concept drawing is just going to be dropping images in with maybe some commentary, but maybe it's not necessary. I'm happy to take care of that as well. So maybe someone else can write up the summary of the design charrette. I think we talked last time, and I think it's a good idea to use our brief that we distributed to the architects for the charrette as the bulk of that section, just to kind of describe what the purpose was, at least the first part of that section, and then maybe some commentary about what came out of it. And then the financial predictions, depending on what we want to do with that, if it's going to be a lot of text, maybe someone can take a stab at that. If it's going to be tables, that might be something that's just easy to drop in, which I'm happy to do if that's the case, or even if that requires a little formatting.
Well, I'm happy to take a stab at the design charrette summary and the financial part of it. And maybe we could just work together, Patrick, but if somebody else wants to jump in, feel free.
Yeah, by all means, please. I feel bad. I appreciate that you guys have kind of taken a lot of this on. Certainly, I appreciate it. I know everybody's busy.
I would be happy to give a hand with one of the sections. I was thinking and Patrick, I might have misheard you here, but as far as the summary that we had written to present to the charrette, I think a lot of that info was the opening summary for it. I think a lot of that was extremely helpful, and I can see us maybe having to play with it a little bit, but using it for this executive summary, if that makes sense. So, but I would be happy to work with that if that helps.
Hey, maybe to break it up, Eric, if you and I, if you want to work together on the like the recommendations and path moving forward and trying to come up with some kind of schedule. Does that sound? Maybe we could work on that together. Just
sounds
again, the schedule, like Patrick said, I don't think the schedule needs to be exactly this date, but I think it would be a good idea to give the select board an idea how long some of this could take in anticipation of other things too.
Yeah. Sounds good to me.
And by all means, Louise and Daniel, if you, we have to be careful of how we do this, but if we can work in groups, if you work individually and send the stuff individually to people, so just be careful of that. And it's kind of to avoid kind of those open meeting law kind of things. So it's not a problem. If two people get together via, in person or via Zoom in between themselves or something, or a phone call, that's acceptable too. But as soon as you include the third person, it becomes a open meeting law violation. So we just want to be careful of that. However, if three people want to work on a section together, as long as they're sending it individually to each other and not replying to all. In other words, one person kind of collates everything. Gets in with three people, but it's possible.
I think as we develop these sections, if people want to send me text and any graphics, I'll drop it into this, make a PDF, I'll send it to everyone, and then people can reply individually to me with comments. And then I can send a revised PDF based on those comments. If I find there are any conflicting comments, we may have to discuss it in a meeting, but I think as a procedural way forward, I'm happy to be kind of the central hub, putting all this stuff into this document, and then letting you all review it periodically.
All right, thank you, Patrick. Yeah, that seems like a very good way to do it. That way we can kind of avoid those open meeting laws. So, I mean, we'll again, Daniel and Louise, feel free if you want to get in contact with any either Eric and I or Angela and Patrick, or if you feel there's something else that you want to tackle yourselves, by all means, we'll kind of spread the wealth out here and get this thing pulled together, and maybe have a rough. Well, sorry, my phone's charging and the cord's not quite long enough. Our next potential meeting would be next week, because we would need to have a meeting next week prior to the select board meeting. So we're going to kind of want to get this going here and get stuff to Patrick hopefully by Tuesday or something, so he can have a day or two to kind of wrap things up and get a kind of a 99% final version here.
And just so that I have the notes, because I was trying to keep track of who's doing what,
Yep.
I want to so I had that Patrick was going to do the recommendations and path forward and the conceptual schedule.
Okay.
And
I'm more than happy to give that up if you two, Dan and Eric, want to work on that. I think that's definitely appropriate.
Okay. Yeah, that's it. Eric, do you have an objection to working on that, or?
I do not.
Okay.
I'm good with that. Yep.
okay, and then I volunteered for the executive summary and the financial piece. So that leaves the conceptual drawings. Patrick's going to just drop those in. That doesn't require text really.
Right.
So then there's the summary of the design charrette and the research piece, and we don't have anybody assigned to those, I don't think.
Oh, right. Yeah, sorry, I'm trying to read too.
Oh, here, sorry, I can make this bigger for everybody.
So I can take on or try to take on the summary of the design charrette.
Daniel, I'm happy to help. I feel a little bit at a disadvantage because I wasn't there. But I can certainly put my 2 cents in if you'd like assistance.
Yeah. I'll see what I can come up with, and then I'll send it off to individuals and go from there.
Sounds good.
Perfect. Thank you, everybody, for kind of chiming in too. As far as the committee
just
research.
One more thing.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. That's what I was going to say too. So
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The committee's research thing, basically, isn't that we could kind of do it in list form? Would that be possible? Basically saying, here's all the documents that we did. Or do we want to?
I think there should be a little bit of narrative to it, just
Okay.
because. I don't know. I'm going to say this in an awkward way, but kind of just to justify the year that we took.
Sure.
Just like not only list the documents, but say here's how we approach this,
Yeah,
essentially. And I don't think it has to be in depth or in a lot of detail or anything, just to sort of give context to the rest. And I don't know, I don't want to volunteer you, Angela, but I know that you really did the lion's share of that work. So maybe you are in the best position to summarize it. Please say no if you're not, or not able, but.
Yeah. No, I'm happy to do that because I also compiled all the files for the public folder. And some of those documents are actually links to other documents because we didn't have anyway, I'm happy to do that because we basically have it already, and I'll send it out to a couple people and you can say yes or no or edit, whatever you want to do.
Okay.
Yeah, great.
I was just thinking while looking at the calendar, if we would like to have this in the meeting packet, we would have to have this submitted for Thursday morning, December 9th.
Oh.
If it's going to make the packet for Monday's meeting.
Oh, right.
Which, cuts another 24 hours out of our process.
Well,
but if we were to move our meeting to the 8th, which is a Wednesday.
Not to interject there, interrupt, but if we present this, if we come ahead and present this, well, it becomes a public document and they would have it anyway. As soon as we present it, I know we might catch some flack from some of the some locals that would have liked to see it ahead of time. I'm going to ask Ed this question if I could. Ed, do you guys anticipate voting on anything that would come out of this?
I don't know. That's a Steve question. But if you're thinking the document might not be ready until Friday, say, I don't want to speak for the town, but I think if it's not part of the packet, but it's a supplement to the packet and it's posted Friday, that's probably good enough. Right, you're right. There are some people in town who really hate last minuteness. But
Right.
if you're thinking Thursday's too soon, but Friday's okay, I don't. Then again, my personal opinion is I don't see a problem with that.
Okay. So so in other words, we could add it late. It would go
Right.
after the agenda. It would just be an addendum or something, right?
We've had that. It'll be on the agenda, so that's perfectly
Right.
legal. The packet, doesn't have to come out early. It just is because people like to see it. So
Right.
that could be added later.
Okay. Even because we could get it to him Friday morning, then it could be posted on the town website by Friday afternoon. That still gives people a weekend.
Right.
Essentially. Got it.
Right.
Okay. So thank you, Ed. So I think we're still on track if we can for next Thursday.
Sounds good to me. Yeah, the more time, the better,
I mean,
for sure. So
It unfortunately it falls all on Patrick if he's going to kind of put it together and get it to the town. But
Dan, just let
Yeah.
Steve and Mark know as soon as you can that that's your plan, just so they're expecting you to come late.
yes, okay. Thank you, Ed. Good point. Thank you. I'll make a note of that. Unless I will throw it out to the committee unless everybody wants to meet Wednesday. I don't know what everybody's schedule is, but we could certainly throw that out there to everybody.
I'm fine either day.
Yeah, either day's good for me too.
Yeah, same here.
Same here.
So I guess the $1 million question is, if everybody taking parts of this got this together to Patrick by Tuesday, Patrick, does that give you enough time to get it together Wednesday morning? We look at it Wednesday night and then it goes out Thursday morning? Or would you still need all of Thursday kind of thing to get it together?
That kind of depends on the comments that we end up with at the end of a Wednesday meeting. If there's a lot of changes, obviously it's going to take some more time.
Okay.
But if it's in reasonably good shape by Wednesday, I think we can have it as part of the packet on Thursday. What time does that have to go?
I don't know.
Hmm.
When do you guys usually get your meeting packets on Thursday, Eric? In the afternoon?
yeah, I find it's in the afternoon, late afternoon. Normally when I get there, they're just coming off the press.
So if you got it to Amy sometime around noon on Thursday.
Well, didn't Ed just say that we could probably get it on the agenda, but then not give the packet till Friday?
Yes, that's what he said. I was just trying to see if, to see if we couldn't get it in the normal packet day.
Yeah.
That's why I said if it's a push, Patrick, then we'll just say we're going to do it on Friday anyway.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. I think maybe we should meet on Wednesday with the aim of getting it in on Thursday. And then if we have any sort of train wrecks, we still have till Friday to do it.
Okay. All right. I'll let Mark and Steve know that it will be coming at Friday at the latest, but it may be late. Just let them know, like Ed said. Okay. All right. Does anybody have any questions on anything else on the table of contents? Anything else we're missing? Anything we need to clarify?
Well, I think as far as I think it's all pretty much discussed. I guess as far as just the solid recommendations that we were talking about. I know that they're in one of the minutes, but I guess my memory of the last one is we were kind of discussing the direct sale or not, and if that comes a question, as far as if it's staying a public-private partnership or if it's if an investor can buy it outright. What our recommendation is on that. And
Well, I think those were some of the things we were going to ask Chris about, because I don't know that we can bring that up. I don't know who decides that. So that's a question for Chris, I think.
Yeah. Right, I guess, but it's not necessarily who's deciding it. Is the way I'm looking at it is I guess whether we want to make a recommendation of which way that goes ourselves, and and it's the same. And I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, but same with like the RFP. Like it's just us saying what we would like to see in it, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to make it in there. But it's I guess how exact our recommendations are going to be as a board or as a committee to what we're willing to allow happen there. Or are we going to just be a little vague about it in that section, I guess?
I don't feel like I know enough about any of that to make a recommendation or even have a discussion about it, because I don't know the pros and cons of a direct sale or not, or whether it is a public-private partnership and there has to be another not-for-profit form so that can happen. I mean, there's so many ways it can go.
I will say that if we consider ourselves kind of a representative body of the people of Housatonic, I feel like what we've heard more often than not is that folks want it to be owned by the town in some form. Whether we want to put that into a formal recommendation, I'm not sure, but that's sort of what I've gathered over this last year and a half or so. And that's probably a public-private partnership, right? Because I don't think that the town has the resources to take on the project fully, but some sort of a partnership arrangement could make that work.
Right. Yes, that would be what my understanding of a private-public partnership is, and there's a range within that too. And with that, I think we can be vague saying that, but given some historical background, historical data, because there's been surveys done pointing towards developing it as some sort of private-public partnership, or at least with some public retention of some part of the public ownership. So we can be very vague in a statement like that. It's not wrong. And I think the RFP, again, I think will flush some of this stuff out when it goes, the responses to the RFP will flush some of that out too. I think, or I hope. I don't know if I think, but I hope. Anyway, but we can certainly try to leave it as vague as possible without committing to something, I think. But yeah, still
we'll throw a wide net out there.
What's that?
I said we'll throw a wide net.
Yes, throw a wide net, but I think we're getting a little hung up on that. It's an important fact. Yes, don't get me wrong, but I think it's the work that the design charrette has done, and all the financial component, and all the other studies that we've cited. I think is something that we should focus more on than that particular part of it. And ultimately, we could hang it on the select board too. I know it's supposed to be our recommendation, but again, it is a town building. They can try to make that decision themselves, and they may be more informed about it too.
I mean, don't you kind of want to not talk about whether if it's going to be a public-private thing right away? Because it's like Eric said, you want to cast a wide net because you're looking for investors. We don't know what's coming, even though we had a design charrette. So we kind of want to keep that open and not turn people away instantly, right? If there's something that they're not interested in that way, you know what I mean?
Right. And I think that's exactly what I mean, Daniel, in saying that the charrette will kind of show what it wants, or I mean the RFP will show what it wants, or what people want. But I think it's still important to at least put it out there that at some point there was strong feelings for keeping some sort of public ownership of it. Again, it's just a vague statement, historical background of the building kind of thing, or the process.
And Patrick, to speak to your statement about the fact that I think we all believe that the sentiment of the residents of Housatonic is that they would like to see it, the building used for some sort of public use in addition to private. I think also the outcome of the design charrette and the direction that we gave the participants will exhibit that, because there are the spaces devoted to more town or public or uses, and then obviously rental properties above. So I think that part of this presentation will also in a way speak to that.
Yep.
Yep. Point. Thank you, Louise. Any other comments or concerns?
So I guess just to clarify, we're planning on meeting again December 8th. I know that's later in the agenda, but just so that, and then we'll have possibly a couple more days to Patrick and everybody else that needs to edit their sections to work on, and get it back in order for hopefully late Thursday, delivered Friday at the latest.
Yeah, and I'm going to chime in and encourage everyone to get stuff to Patrick on Tuesday.
Or earlier, if you get it done.
Fair enough.
And if anyone has photos or anything like that, old photos, new photos with, kids in the playground with the school in the background, whatever, we can drop it in all over the place here and make it a robust, presentable document.
Okay. Sorry, I was going back through my emails. Sorry, sidetracked. I did find it finally in spam folder. And he was hoping to meet last Tuesday at 4. Anyway, apologize. Okay, so I think everybody has a fairly good idea of what they're looking at least. If you have questions, feel free to shoot anybody else an email if you just want to. I sent out that contact list with everybody. I don't know if I got Louise's number on there or not. I don't remember. But I did send out. Did everybody get that, by the way, when I finally sent it out?
Yeah.
The contact list. So
Yeah.
So okay. So if you do have a question, feel free to, just get in contact with me or anybody else you feel more comfortable with. And, we can always at least bounce ideas off each other again, just as long as we kind of keep it above board and just between two people. And when we're submitting stuff again, just reply singly to Patrick. Avoid the reply all button, please. It gets into some pretty sticky situations pretty quick if you don't. But yeah, we can get this to Patrick as soon as possible. That would be great, and plan on a Wednesday meeting. So. All right. Patrick, are you done sharing then?
I am. Yep. Unless anyone has any other questions. All right. There we go.
All right. Thank you for getting that together too, Patrick. I know
Sure.
everybody is very busy, so I appreciate the work that everybody does. All right. I think we kind of morphed that into the discussion of the RFP for the Housatonic School, but we can certainly continue that part of the conversation.
Yeah, Dan, I put that on the agenda just because I wasn't sure if we were fully done with the discussion of our suggestions for the RFP,
Mhm.
So I just added that just to make sure, maybe somebody else had another idea or thoughts about it. So.
Yeah, I think next Wednesday we'll have a better idea if we need to change anything drastically. But I think I don't see anything changing in the last notes, at least. So along with that, and I'll tie this in. Paul Ivory, who is the chair of the Historical Commission, and if you're not sure the difference between a Historical Commission and Historical Society, the Historical Commission is the town's historical component. So they're the town entity, where the Historical Society is a private organization, in case anybody needed that clarification. But at any rate, Paul Ivory is the chair of that committee. He sent me an email the other day saying that they have a recommendation of support for the plan. I will read that to you. I'll read the email to you. He wrote, the Historical Commission supports the preservation and adaptive reuse of the school. We had voted to send a letter to the select board to reflect this stand, but as the composer, I totally missed the date of the recent meeting. We're prepared to send one anyway, but need your guidance about when and where to send it. So I had him send it. I'm having him send me a copy too of that letter of recommendation, and we might want to just include that in our presentation too, just as further kind of backing, as the design charrette was very clearly adaptive reuse of the building. The building is eligible for National Register. I think at one other point, Don Howe, I think, mentioned that at one of our meetings a year or so ago. It is eligible for the National Register. It is not currently on the National Register. There's just some more paperwork, I think, that we would have to go through to get that on there. I think it's always been held off to put it on there permanently, just because it's always been in flux whether or not somebody would want that as a designation or not. But it's more just a designation. But with a listing, you can certainly start getting things like historic tax credits and things available to you.
So as much as I love historic preservation, that kind of designation on a building like that would eliminate the ability to make a new entrance, change any windows, change the roof line, and I don't think we should even have that on the table at this point.
Yeah. It does and it doesn't. If you take historic tax credits, it does, but a designation's just a designation. Okay. Anything else that we want to feel we need to include for the RFP or discuss regarding the RFP? Again, I think that'll be a bigger discussion next Wednesday.
I was just thinking one thing, which I was going to just mention it in all things Housatonic, but it kind of ties them both in together. But I would say, right, the Saturday before Thanksgiving, the farmers market at the Hoosie Dome, and I was thinking when Patrick was asking for pictures, I did take a few when it was first starting to get together, but I think just capturing that moment when it was at its high point and all the people around, I don't know, it just showed me the possibilities that, I think it overlooked a lot for this particular area. And from 10 o'clock until 2 in the afternoon, 901 people walked through the Hoosie Dome. And I think Benjamin would concur that there wasn't any parking issues as far as people getting blocked into their driveway. There was cars up and down the streets, but no complaints, no issues with that. And just how lively this area of Housatonic was during it. Pleasant in Maine, Craig there was over the moon about it. He told me he had over 100 people that walked in his store that didn't even realize he was there, basically, and had a very busy day. And it was just great. The vendors out front selling egg sandwiches and sausages and just people hanging out. Just gave me a lot of hope for what that area, not saying that we want every day, but just the possibilities of having that much going on. To me, it was very exciting. So just wanted to put that out there just in, for pushing of the excitement in downtown Housatonic. So.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to go, but I was glad to see constant traffic there, which is really encouraging. Not just for the Hoosie Dome, but actually for that farmers market too, which is nice to see. But I think the visioning of that building as a true community center, I think, showed up that day too. Is it as important as the Hoosie Hoops program is? It's nice to see that something can coexist with it. And as far as I've heard, I haven't heard any negative aspects of what happened. I think the floor was covered quite well, Eric, right? And
yes, sir.
Clean it up, and so I think hopefully this is something that can kind of continue and bring new faces to Housatonic, people that may not venture out this way for any particular reason, which is also a good thing, because sometimes it just takes that one person, finding something new.
Eric, I like the idea of, if you have a couple photographs, I love the idea of dropping in one or two.
Yep.
I think that would really add an important visual.
Yep. Sounds good.
Eric, you saw this too, I'm guessing, from Amy. We did get a bit of good news. There is finally Wi-Fi at the Hoosie Dome. I guess it is up and running. The room it's in, so I'm guessing the router's in the front, one of those front rooms. Is that what I understand? I guess the signal was very strong there in the main building itself, main part of the building. It was a little weaker, but at least Amy Pulver felt that it was strong enough where Zoom meetings could happen. So it seems like it's probably going to still be a long way before we can meet in person again with new variants and everything coming out. But it's encouraging to know that at least now there's a public building in Housatonic that could support some sort of formal gathering that would be able to accommodate some Wi-Fi, which is good too. Anybody have anything else on all things Housatonic? Nobody from the committee? Okay. Ben, Ed, or even Terry Cowgill, anything that you have anything on Housatonic?
Nothing. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for this work.
I just wanted to thank Eric and everyone else who was involved in organizing and running the farmers market the other week. Like Eric said, I thought everything went well, but the parking especially, it really went off without a hitch. And I appreciate that. But overall, it was great. I'm really happy to see it in the neighborhood. A question about the Wi-Fi. Is it going to be public access? Because I know one issue that I seem to have, at least with the vendors who are outside, was, they took like Venmo and online payments, but getting any sort of service, or I didn't see any signage about a Wi-Fi signal out there. So being able to use that form of payment for the vendors didn't seem like an option.
The intentions is it's gonna be public. They didn't have it opened in time for the farmers market, and it's that building being cement really knocks the signal down right away. So we had to move it out kind of into the hallway entrance area for the main vendors inside the basketball court, for them to pick up the signal. But in the beginning it was difficult because not everybody was logging on. So I actually had to type it into most people's phones and iPads to get it going. So, but Amy is working on making it public access, and there's talk of getting a booster in the far side of the Hoosie Dome so it's an even signal throughout the building. So
great. That was the main thing. I just want to say thank you for that. But just during the course of the discussion tonight, one question I have, as far as making the call now as to whether it should be a private or public, the charrette is going to suggest that there should be public meeting spaces, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't kind of close the door on a fully private ownership now, how do you guarantee that there will be public spaces included? If you do just let a private developer come in, and how is there any guarantee that they have to follow the charrette if they do take complete private ownership?
No, I think it's all really worded how it's worded in the RFP.
Okay.
But yeah, if it's a private ownership, no, they don't necessarily have to. I'm trying to think if there's any when the fire station was purchased privately. The Great Barrington Fire Station, the old fire station, was purchased privately. The town still had some storage space in there, and that was part of the agreement.
Yeah.
So there is some sort of case for that, but I guess it would kind of have to be how it's written in the RFP, and
Dan, may I?
Yeah. Ed.
I'm not a real estate lawyer. But I think, assuming whatever deal if the RFP says public meeting space needs to be part of this, and the buyer agrees to that, then they put a deed restriction in, or something like that. or gives the town a 9-year lease or something like that. I'm sure there's a way, or I would guess there's a way to write it in to protect it. If that, assuming that their buyer comes along who's interested in doing that.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it. And just as a citizen of Houstonic, I would just like to voice my support of whatever it is repurposed for, of making sure that there is some sort of public facing, use for the building. I really think that's important to just not make it completely private. So thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Anybody else with anything? I guess it's also citizen speak, but I'll make the announcement for citizen speak so it's official. Hearing none, being that it's just Ben and Ed. Terry, do you have anything for media time? I would assume not. Oh, Terry's question. Okay. I understand. He can't ask a question because he's recording it, so he kind of loses functionality on that. Okay. Thank you, Terry. Okay. All right. If we don't have anything else, we'll aim for meeting. We're going to try to do 6:30 again on Wednesday. 6:30 still work for everybody?
That works for me.
Yep.
Does 6 o'clock work for everybody? I know that's a half an hour earlier. No? Okay. Because I normally have a Wednesday commitment. But I can get around it. I may be zooming in from my phone, so it's isn't a big deal.
All right, and then for Wednesday 6:30, I'm gonna keep the agenda short and sweet and just have recommendation planning, basically, or something along those lines, or what do you guys suggest?
Yeah, or select board presentation prep or something like prep and discussion.
Sounds good.
Okay, so 6:30 Wednesday. We'll send a reminder out too, just in case Bev missed this meeting. That way she doesn't get it. She can make the next meeting too, because it is an odd day. All right, if there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn this fine meeting.
Thank you. Second from Patrick. All right, and after our roll call vote, we'll be adjourned at 7:29. Eric.
Aye.
Angela.
Aye.
Patrick.
Aye.
Louise.
Aye.
Daniel.
Aye.
And I as well. Good night, everybody. Thank you very much, and we'll see you Wednesday.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night.